The casting of Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy is a fascinating choice and a problematic one. On the surface, it's hard to argue with. Nyong'o is a brilliant actress, and her presence brings star power and gravitas to a role that has long been defined by myth and fantasy. But when we look at the historical and archaeological evidence surrounding the Mycenaean Greeks, her casting raises questions about accuracy and interpretation. The ancient depictions of Mycenaean Greeks are relatively consistent. They are described as having the typical Mediterranean features we associate with the region today: dark hair and brown eyes. At the same time, the sources indicate that blonde and red hair were found among Greeks of the era. Even Homer, the man who shaped much of our image of ancient Greece, described Helen as white-armed and fair-cheeked. This isn't a modern projection of beauty standards onto ancient texts. It's a direct description of her appearance. Genetic studies also support a particular image of Mycenaean ancestry. Research indicates they were primarily descended from Neolithic farmers, with some additional ancestry from northern populations in Eastern Europe. A recent facial reconstruction of a Mycenaean noblewoman further complicates the decision to cast Nyong'o. The reconstruction showed a woman with fair skin and reddish blonde hair, a visual reminder that even in ancient Greece, Greekness did not always match the dark-haired, dark-eyed stereotype. So when you consider all of this, the written descriptions, the genetic evidence, the reconstructions, casting a black Kenyan actress as Helen of Troy is not historically accurate. The irony is that none of this may even matter in a strict historical sense. Along with the other characters from the story, it's not confirmed whether Helen of Troy was a real person. Helen is as much a mythological figure as a supposed historical one, and her story exists more as a narrative tradition than as a verifiable biography. So the debate over accuracy becomes even more complicated. If Helen is not a historical figure, then any casting choice is inherently interpretive, a creative decision rather than a historical claim. Here's the twist. This is a movie about myth. If you approach this Odyssey film as if it's a documentary, you're missing the point. It should be viewed as fantasy, like The Lord of the Rings, a story that draws from ancient sources but ultimately creates its own world. So while the casting may be inaccurate, it also reflects a broader shift in how we interpret myth today. The film isn't trying to be a historical reconstruction. It's telling a story that has been retold, reimagined, and reshaped for centuries. The casting debate exposes a larger issue. What do we want myth to be? Do we want it to be a faithful reproduction of ancient realities? Or do we want it to be a living, evolving narrative that reflects modern values, aesthetics, and ideas? Lupita Nyong'o's Helen is both a radical reinterpretation and a reminder that the stories we inherit are never neutral. They are always being rewritten by artists, audiences, and the cultures that consume them.